think this is probably about the most disgraceful leaflet I've seen from the Labour Party. If you look at this leaflet, it doesn't mention Labour really at all. It says Garston Residents News. Looks like a local residents newsletter, but it attacks the former Labour councillor Sam Gorst, who's standing now for the Liverpool Community Independence Party. And we've got Alan Gibbons, who's the interim leader. The thing that I found most distasteful, alleging that Sam had jumped the queue to get a council house, is not. That is just unbelievable.
It does. It affects his conditions of life, and the reality. And Squawk Box did an excellent dismantling of this absolute nonsense. In fact, Sam overall spent probably 7 years on the waiting list. He didn't go on. He didn't jump any list. It was advertised this hard to let flat on Rightmove. I mean, the whole thing is a farrago, and I've put in a complaint to the Merseyside police. And really, I'd find it hard to see how they'd squirm out of some sort of sanction. But even though it seems fairly frothing-mouthed, the leaflet, which, I mean, look at the size of it. You know, they've spent a lot of money on it.
Oh, wow.
It's huge. Yet they've chosen quite carefully to evade direct, legally actionable language. I mean, it really is an awful, dishonest piece of work. And all 4 of the opposition parties have condemned it absolutely, which is, historically, I don't remember that happening in an election, for all the parties, except for the ruling party in an area, to condemn a piece of electoral, communication.
The fact that all the parties have issued a joint statement, as you say, it shows that that Labour have certainly done the wrong thing in Liverpool. What has Labour's response been to that?
To double down on it. And I mean, you should see the language that they've used. I haven't got the quote to hand, but it's sort of, talk to the hand. It's like a 14-year-old, an obstreperous 14-year-old is replying. Their communications don't come across as professional, but tetchy and extreme. And I think Labour has degenerated into a neoliberal sect that's just out to trash other people's reputations. We're not going to go low like that. We're going to argue policy, and we're going to argue about records. And this is a council that has written off £230 million of bad debt, that's given property developers free land, that wasted up to £16 million in an energy bill fiasco. It just goes on and on. But they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about Eurovision, and they want to slander people and attack their reputations. And there's history. There is at least 2 of these kind of spoof sites that make horrible accusations against people. One against our group, which has an extra S on it. So dishonest to try and take people to this site and talk rubbish. And another one that's called Spam Ghost, and this is particularly disreputable. To actually set up a whole Twitter feed to just try to rubbish one of the best councillors in the city's reputation is, so disreputable. You couldn't make it up. It's as bad as anything in the Trumpian playbook or the Republican playbook in the United States in the 70s. It is really disgusting stuff. And this is the official opposition in this country. Absolutely scandalous.
I sort of put a mailing out about this story, and I thought that possibly Starmer's attack ads on Rishi Sunak have given them license on a local level to do the same sort of thing. So do you think it goes all the way up to Starmer in a sense?
I think it absolutely does, because this has been, the imprint on it is the North West Labour Party. So it's official. It must have been signed off by the local leader of the Labour group, Liam Robinson, who was allegedly going to be turning a corner and be a safe pair of hands. It must be signed off by the NEC, because the NEC, through Sheila Murphy as the local Merseyside officer, has been having direct control of the Liverpool Labour Party until very recently. So I think this will have the imprint of Starmer and Evans's hands all over it. I can't say for definite, but it's highly unlikely that this is not centrally directed. And as you say, I mean, that Sunak quote, you can imagine anything more foul than to say somebody is permitting child abuse. You know, it almost, I do say almost, made you feel sorry for a Tory.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, I personally feel so angry about this. I've met Sam, and he's a lovely guy. It's not just about him being a lovely guy, but he also worked very hard as a councillor and has been targeted by sort of Blairite officials, if you want to put it in short term. Before, when he was in the Labour Party, he was unfairly smeared and treated. He left the Labour, wanted to start something else, and they start digging into him in this way. I personally feel we really need to support him. Is there a way we can all get up there and leaflet? And I mean, are there leaflets planned that we can all deliver for Sam?
Yeah. You might remember the Stephen Yip campaign. Stephen Yip stood as an independent mayor. He's endorsed Sam, and a 4-page leaflet has gone out with Stephen's positive quote, a poster for Sam. It's gone down a storm. I was out campaigning with Sam the other day, and people are just coming up saying that leaflet was disgusting. It's backfired on Labour. And loads of people saying, we know you, Sam. We know what a brilliant councillor you are. We know what a charming young man you are. You know what a caring family man you are, you know, and they just won't have this nonsense. So I've put my email address, mygibbo@gmail.com. And if anybody wants to get out in Garston, I'll forward it to Sam, and he'll tell you when you can get out and support. And it's really important. It's a 2-member ward. Labour, neither of Labour's candidates are in the ward. And one of the silliest things is the person who promoted this, Councillor Lainey Hinnigan, whose name is on the imprint, she slags off Sam, saying he was in leafy Cressington. If you walk around Cressington, actually, much of it is former council estates. So that's nonsense. But she's trying to say he's middle class outsider. Sam is a working class lad from Garston. He's always lived in Garston. And she was one of the fellow councillors for Cressington. So is she slagging off her own ward? This is bizarre behaviour from Labour. They're parachuting people in from outside. One of them is a barrister, you know, and he's in charge of equalities law, this guy. And yet his name is on this leaflet. Where's his commitment to equalities when he's putting out rubbish like this against the person I think is the best councillor in Liverpool? I mean, Sam just works his heart and soul out and has done for 4 years. And it's just outrageous that this is the attack line. They should be debating policy. They should be defending their record. And they fail utterly and completely to do it because, to be honest, Labour is a disgrace in this city. It's an absolute disgrace in this city.